Hello everybody, it's great to be back with you. I have some interesting news because a lot of people told me that April was not good for them on eBay, but for the first time ever, I did my 20 item listings thanks to the level 2 and 3 members who support that bonus video and make it possible. And for the first time, every single item sold. So it was a complete sellout, and I'm very happy about that. I do want to thank my members who support the bonus videos that I put out every month, where I put 20 items that I think are interesting and have a good story and maybe are a little better quality, and we put them on eBay and put them at auction to see what the market is at the moment that we put it out. And April 10th was when these all closed, and the market was great as far as these things were concerned. So let's take a look at what sold and talk about why. We might get some clues here. This piece I was particularly happy about. This is a Kelsey Murphy base. This is by Erickson Glass. Kelsey is now the director and designer for Blanco Glass, but she started out with Pilgrim. She is a woman who is known for Cameo glass carvings in naturalistic forms. And this piece was put out in 2000, the year before that Erickson Glass Company closed. And part of the reason was they were trying to get people introduced to their line. So it's got her signature on the side. It also has her signature on the bottom, as you see here. I was really pleased that it went for $142.50. It got a lot of bids. It really should. It's got this really great hummingbird down at the bottom of it. And the cranberry glass is really good quality. Pilgrim always used 22 to 24 karat gold in their batch to get this very rich cranberry color. This was something that was designed to introduce people to the Cameo line, and it was a success in its time. Unfortunately, the Gulf War started and the price of natural gas went so high that a lot of companies closed, and Pilgrim was one of them. But now she is doing her work at Blanco, and she's got some really great designs out, and you can take a look at their catalog. They are one of the few West Virginia production glass companies still in business. Secondly, we had this set. This also did well, and I'm not too surprised because it is Toll Laureate. It is sterling, silver, and these are in the original packages. Look at that, right from 1968. It was a very heavy pattern as well, and that, of course, counts for something because a lot of people who are buying silver are buying silver for the weight. The person who liked this was so happy with it that when I told them that I had another set and would sell it to them for the same price, they took both. So I got a double out of that one. That was really great. But it was just really cool that it had never been touched. I got it from a woman who, in 1968, picked this out as her potential bridal pattern. But when she got married, she was given a different set of silver, and she never expanded this set. So she just had these two place settings of 5, and you see the price it went for there on 17 bids. So that was a very happy thing as well. Our next piece up here. Now this piece only went for about what I paid for it, and that's my fault because this picture shows it really well, and it is an original Kmart 1980s women's work shirt. However, I could not get a good picture of the back. I was trying to show that it had a couple of little tiny spots that were way lighter than what it looks like in this picture, but the whole thing just ended up looking really dingy from the back, and it was really not a good representation of the piece. I was on a deadline. I thought hopefully they'll just look at the front because the front was a good representation and the overall condition was pretty good. So someone got a deal, and you know, these don't come up all that often actually. And it's funny, a few people who worked for Kmart noticed the pen marks in the pocket and said, oh yes, every shirt had pen marks because everybody threw their pens in there when they were running around marking things down and doing the blue light specials and all the stuff that Kmart was known for back in the day. This is a beautiful piece. The Bermuda Hotel on Albo Beach. This piece is an English piece from about 1930. You see the Albo Beach Hotel. That building is still there. There are modern buildings right on the coast now, but that building is still used as one of their main halls. And it is just a beautiful piece with the exotic fish and this wonderful border. This is what a lot of cafe china back in the 1920s and 30s fantasy era of hotels looked like. A lot of the Florida places like the old Vinoy Hotel in St. Petersburg had sets that were like this too. I love the seahorses. I thought the design was great. This is by a company called, well, you can see their logo here. Rather small company, actually, that you see in the logo. And I was just very happy. Let's see if we can get it up here where we can see it a little bit closer. There we go. Yes, this was Hoods and Company out of Fenton, which is part of Staffordshire in England, where a lot of dinnerware like this was made. Even the back stamp is elegant. So this went for its opening bid of $29, and I thought that was just fine. That's a pretty fair price for a lot of these plates these days. Sometimes they go higher. It just depends on the hotel. This was just fun. It's Dr. Young's Radical Remedy, and boy is it radical, and we'll show you why, because it's from about 1910. It's medical quackery. It's not snake oil, so it's not regulated by the Pure Food and Drug Administration at this point. But this is your cure. You have ointment and, well, these little devices on the right that you see there. And yes, they are exactly what they say they are. I have seen one set of these in the original box. We sold a set in Lafayette, Oregon, when I worked with that mall, gosh, I think 25 years ago. And they went for pretty good money. You don't see them very often. I don't think it's something very many people saved. It's supposed to cure piles and constipation. It says it cures nervousness. I have to say it creates nervousness when I look at it, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, someone else thought this was fun too. A whole bunch of people, in fact, 8 bids, and it sold for $15, which, considering it's just a little pamphlet and it wasn't in terrific condition, I thought was a pretty good turn on that. This little guy, he could have sold for even more, but I was pleased that he sold. I love the Holt Howard stuff, the stinky cheese. You know, he was a little bit worn on some of the high points, as you can see here, and I think that might have kept the price down just a little bit. But he did go for $56, and they are just so cute. It's such a great line. I'm going to be having some cozy kitties that will be coming with me to the Portland Rose City Vintage Festival in July. So you can look for that there. I don't know if I have any more of the Merry Mice left, but if I do, I will bring them as well. This is really neat. I just love book slides. Again, not the most brilliant picture. I took this outside in the sunlight. My Florida studio, I had to move, and it happened right in this time frame. So it's a little bit hard. I was not set up with a nice light box, so I was using natural light. It really did bring out the greenish bronze cast on this, though. These were by the Judd Company, and Judd did these as regular bookends and the book slide. The book slide I'll show you here is this device where you can expand so that you have it shut down to this, or you can expand it out to about 10 inches so you can put more books in. And Minerva, of course, very famous from Roman mythology. So she was a winner, and she sold for $51 on 6 bids. And honestly, book slides typically seem to sell ones like this between about $50 and $75. So that was right in there. This sold as well. It's an R.C. Gorman style Kurok tray. Kurok is a great company. They made really good stuff. It did tend to scratch a little bit. This one has a few light scratches, which we always want to be honest about, so we mentioned that in the condition. But overall in good shape. I like it with the rug weaver. Definitely a Southwest design. These were made in Monterey, California, as you can see on the back here. And this one, for the condition, I thought went for a fair price. If it was in perfect condition, I would have expected more, but it went for $23.50 on 2 bids. And I thought for the condition, once you consider that you had to add basically double that in shipping, you're really looking at about $50 to the customer, and that is where the value should be on these. And that is something to bear in mind with eBay, is that, of course, it's a great way to sell a whole lot of things, but you do have to take into account the size and weight and potential distance that you're going to be sending something that you sell, because these items, you know, the postage really adds up. And so a lot of your profit goes to the post office. This is part of the reason why I like selling in the real world, and I still do antique malls and antique shows. This was really cute. Now, this went a little higher than I expected. They used to go pretty high, and I think a lot of them are in collections and people haven't seen them in years, so the prices have been down, but this one was in great shape. This is a Hood Sarsaparilla household calendar. I got several of these. I have some for sale in Florida still at one of my mall spaces, and this one I decided to put online. She was really nicely framed by its owner in about 1990, but this is original from 1888. Hood's was a big maker of sarsaparilla and a bunch of other tonics, and they had a giant factory in Massachusetts, and they shipped all over the country and really various points around the world in their prime. And they were a big deal up until probably the 1920s. You could get calendars like this every year. This one I just thought was really sweet. Look at the beautiful lithography and the look in her eyes. They're just so soft in that hazel color. She's just very sweet and very cute. And for 1888, well, she was just as cute a little girl as you could imagine, and somebody else thought so too. In fact, 12 people thought so, and the winning bid was $59.50. Now, this was another situation where the picture probably could have been better, but it's a hard thing to take a picture of because it is a mirror. This is one of those 1980s signed mirrors that are starting to be collectible. This went to a viewer of mine who had inquired about it before, and I had quoted her a higher price, and then I decided to put it online, and she actually got a better deal on it, so I was happy it went to her. The reflection you see is actually popcorn ceiling because I had to put it on the floor to take the picture. So it didn't really... I might have been better off taking a picture with the reflection of me in it. I was trying to avoid that. Mirrors are difficult. There's one other item you'll see a little later that was a little hard to photograph as well. But it has the signature here for Don Farthing, made in Florida. And there's the information on his glass studio. There's an outfit out of St. Louis that you typically see with their signatures. Don Farthing is a little scarcer, handmade in Florida. These 80s mirrors, and I can show you, there it is on the wall. This maybe was the picture I should have led with, but if you notice, it's the shape. The shape is the novelty. The shapes are what are getting people's attention to these, and I just think they're an up-and-coming area, so I was glad to put one out where people could see it, and it went for $49 plus shipping, which again was not super cheap. Now this piece, I was really pleased. It went to a viewer, and it is a really unusual, interesting thing. I have 3 more for sale, actually, which I haven't put out yet. I'm hoping to get them to Washington State, although after the success of this one, I might just put it online because it sold for a little more than I had hoped. This is a kuspuk. This is an Alaskan, basically a hoodie, but they're very loose at the bottom because they have to go over all of your sweaters and your clothes and your various layers. This is one that you would have probably worn in spring with these colors. This was done about 1970 with that avocado and orange with the trim. It's a nice corduroy. They typically are made of corduroy. Here's the piece hanging where you can see the whole thing, and this is actually a little better picture. Again, my new studio, I've got to work on the picture quality a little bit. I was pleased to sell everything considering some of my pictures were not so great. And then here's one where you really get a good look at it. This actually shows the color a little bit more true, and the original picture looked a little bit faded, but this is what they actually look like. And I think it's really fun. I'm not sure what the viewer who bought this is going to do with it, but I know that she really enjoys ethnic things, and it went for $40 on 3 bids. I was pleased with that. In Alaska, the state legislators, they wear these every Friday. It's their dress casual day. These were a real surprise to me. They're nice books. They're interesting. Florence and the Corticelli silk were products of the Nonotuck Silk Company, again in Massachusetts, up where you have the all of the factories related to the textile industry. This is the 1887 and the 1890 edition. I decided to sell both of them together because one of them was missing its cover and had a little bit of a stain. One of them has the script with the cursive signature of the original owner from back in 1887, because you would take these around to sewing bees and you wanted to make sure you got it back. Neat interior. Part of what was appealing about this was what they were showing inside. Here's how you actually make a woven reticule. These bags are very popular now with collectors, and they are showing you here how to make one using their silk. I thought that was pretty neat. What other things could you make here? There's the back pages. There's the silk itself. And then, oh yes, I like this too because it showed plate lace that you could do with needlework. So for somebody who actually does this sort of crafting or respects it and wants to know how it was done, these are really great compendiums. And I think that's why they did as well as they did. And they did very well. There were 11 bids, rather active, and $56.55, I have to say, was significantly more than I thought these might go for when I listed them. So that was a nice surprise, and I'm glad that people were really excited to get them. This made me happy too. It went for about the top end of what these go for. This is Erickson Glass, and people are still confused thinking that Erickson, because of the name and especially the style, must have been Swedish, but it was not Swedish. Carl Erickson was from Ohio, and he did these styles in the same style that was being done in Scandinavia at the time. He came out with this in the early 50s. He won a bunch of awards for design, and interestingly, when he closed his factory, he decided not to sell to somebody else because he was afraid they wouldn't be able to keep up the quality, and he didn't want his name to be associated with low quality goods. So Erickson, when it was gone, it was gone. And that's part of the reason that American collectors who like mid-century modern glass have really tuned into this guy. And it had 11 bids and sold for $81. This also did a little better than I thought it would. It had 19 bids. It worked, and it rang, and the alarm was good. It was one of these that is the old style where you shake it a little to get it to run. It ran great. I got it at a flea market. There is a video that's just come out actually on my channel that shows me buying this piece, and I immediately put it in because I thought, oh, this is a neat piece to put on eBay. I thought it's really fun, and I have a bunch of mantle clocks and other clocks that have come to me, so I thought, well, I really need to start getting clocks out on the market. And the alarm clocks do still sell. And this did very well. It went for $65. I'll show you the back here real quickly. Everything wound, everything ran. The button on top worked to stop the thing. You can just barely see the button right up at the top there. It was just a really neat piece, and I was very happy that it did this well. I got 19 bids, a lot of people interested in this. This went to a viewer, and I was really pleased because she buys very nice things and has a very interesting eye for things. Her collection, when she buys things from me, is it's quite varied, and I really enjoy it, and it's fun to see what she'll like. And she really liked this one. So did a lot of people, because this is by Herond from Hungary. This is a little 6-inch ashtray painted in the roses. They did various patterns over the years. They did a Rothschild bird that's very popular, but the rose is something that you don't see as often, and I just thought it was very sweet and cute, and I thought, well, somebody might like this, and sure enough, it sold. And it went right to the person who was supposed to get it for $69 on a buy it now. Here's the other piece that was a little bit hard to photograph because it is chrome, but what a great piece of chrome. I love Chase Copper and Brass Company in the 1930s. They really took over the market because Walter von Nessen did their designs, and they are so streamlined and so deco and so good. And a lot of these pieces like this, they still work great. This one has the original cord. It heated right up. It was just basically a warmer to put on the table at mealtime so you could keep things warm and serve them. It has a nice glass liner. And I decided to put it out for auction or buy it now, and it went right away on buy it now. So did I price it too cheaply? Maybe so, because you don't see this pattern that often. But Art Deco is just really starting to get a new generation buying it, and I wanted to make sure it went to a good home, and I was satisfied with that price and very happy that somebody got it. And the best part was that they ordered it right when I was headed to the middle of the country, so the shipping wasn't terrible because it was a big piece and it weighs something with that big heating element in the bottom. Speaking of reticules, here's one that somebody made, and this was out of a Rhode Island estate. And look how cute that is with the flowers. This was a little tiny one for coins, and it had all of its fringe. That's very important. The micro beading was all there. This picture actually did it justice because you can tell how good the condition is. You would take those little barbells and turn them upright and then push them down to get the ring to come up enough so that you could get your coins out, and that was for your trolley fare back in the day. Here's the other side. It looked good both sides. Just a little thing, only about 3 inches tall, but in such nice condition it did sell for $49, which is about what it should have sold, and it did go, I believe, on a buy it now. This piece did well, and I was very happy. It went for $45, and it should, but I wasn't sure what to expect. I had a bunch of Red Wing, and I've sold down most of the collection. This piece sort of ended up on a low shelf, shoved in the back where nobody saw it, and I thought, no, it needs to go online where it will be appreciated. Red Wing is out of Red Wing, Minnesota, the same town that the boots were made, but a myth was dispelled that I had mislearned and misquoted for years. The Red Wing Shoe Company, there may have been some financial principles involved, but there was not a direct connection between they and the Pottery Company. But the Pottery Company did very well and produced up until the late 1960s. And in the 40s and 50s, they were really known for this modern design. Now, this is one place where the picture, I think, really did help the piece because we were outside in natural light, so you get this great shadowing, and you can see how this interesting 3-opening vase, it's almost like a basket, it just gives it a lot of texture. The inside is a pale green, and then you have the outside in the ivory. And so it really showed it off to its best benefit. And I'm glad for that because it went to a happy new home and sold for $45. This piece, talking about cancel culture, well, this was from 1981. This is Arkansas State University. I knew it wasn't Arizona State because they're the Sun Devils, but this was Arkansas State. And Arkansas State is often overshadowed by its big rival, the Arkansas Razorbacks, but they had this guy as a logo. He was based on an actual Osage Indian chief. And ASU in the 80s did this sort of comical form, very similar to Wahoo of the Cleveland Indians. But in the 1990s, they went way out of their way to talk to people who were Native American, ask them how they should dress their mascot, ask them how to do dances and things that were actually true to what Native Americans of this tribe would have done. And so it actually was meant as a point of pride. A lot of the reason that so many teams were named after Indians or other Native American names was because of the great success of Pop Warner in football at the Indian School in Pennsylvania, and that's what it was called. And around 1910, he changed the game of football radically, and the Indian School suddenly started beating everybody handily because they figured out a different way to play the game, and he really modernized the game. And because of that, there was actually a lot of respect for Native Americans because of their ability to be dominant in this sport. And so that's why so many teams have mascots related to Native Americans. By the 2000s, the NCAA said, we don't really care how true you're being to form. Anything that depicts a Native American group is considered derogatory, and you can't have that mascot if you're going to be in any championship game of any sort. So they were forced to change it. And so because of that, these are pretty hard to find. It went to an ASU student, and it went for $50 on one bid. And then last we have this. This is the Heart Vase by HomeGuard. See the similarity between this and the vase that we had at the beginning. or the Erickson vase that we had a little bit ago, because it's that same smoky gray. It is from the 1950s. This was Per Lutkin, who is the designer. Holmgard has done a lot of really good designs from their Danish factory, and the interesting thing is none of their designers worked in glass before they came to work for Holmgard. They just had a knack for it, and they just figured out how to make designs that were interesting and modern. But interestingly enough, we were doing the same thing with Carl Erickson in the United States around the same time. And the Holmgard piece, as nice as it is more common. And there were more of them made. So this piece sold for $49, which is quite a bit less than the Erickson piece, but a fair price for what it was, and very pleased to see it go, and very pleased to see all of these things go. So thank you very much for watching, and you can look for another eBay listing video coming very soon. We got a little bit behind because of family matters that I was involved with in the last several weeks, but we are going to have 2 eBay listing videos this month in May. One of them is coming very soon. If you are a level 2 or level 3 member, your membership entitles you to early access, which means you will see these items as they list first, and then we release it later in the week to the rest of the public. So if you want first dibs on these items, as you see, they are selling. So if you are able to help the channel with a membership, it really does help the channel, and you will have early access to see those items. But all of you are welcome to follow along, track the bids, see how things do. We like to do this because it gives a snapshot of how these particular things are doing in the online auction marketplace on eBay at any given time. And in spite of what a lot of people have been saying to me, I'm still finding eBay to be a very good place to sell things if you pick things that are priced fairly for what they are and are a little bit interesting. Then you've got a chance to sell too. So thank you so much for watching, and we will be back with the results of the next flight of eBay items with another What Sold video after they sell. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video, and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help, and we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.